in the series this year. We've done a lot of exciting things. We've had some great experiences together, but I really see tonight as being a highlight, which is telling some great stories about success. And, you know, as the Director of Career Development, here at Career Services here at Marylhurst, my job is to connect the dots between our degree programs and the labor market. And one of the things I've been doing this year is co-facilitating a support group. And I think the support group, which is well represented here, has been one of my greatest learning opportunities because people are doing very creative things. And it was actually ideas from the support group that prompted me to think about what we could do to bring some people together to tell their story. Because as Barry mentioned just a few minutes ago, nothing is like it was. And one thing I'm struck with all the time is that the jobs in the next 10 years haven't even been invented yet. So our job in preparing people for the workforce is to think creatively, think outside the box, and to be nimble and flexible in the things that we know how to do. So with that introduction, I'd like to introduce Olivia Yang. She's our Alumni Mentor Program Coordinator. I was almost going to say she's an AmeriCorps volunteer because she's also that. And she's brought so much to our program, and she's generously offered to moderate this panel tonight. So welcome, Olivia.
Thank you. So as Lynn mentioned earlier, I'm an AmeriCorps member, and so what that means is that I'm here for a year, giving a year of service, and in return I'm getting a lot of really rich professional development opportunities. I get to work with Lynn and Kirsten in Career Services, and I get to coordinate the wonderful mentor program that a lot of you are involved in here at Marylhurst. And I'm also an alum. I graduated June of 2009 with a degree in Organizational Communications and a certificate in Conflict Resolution and Mediation. It's a mouthful. And so naturally, my story is I graduated, was looking for work. Being a new graduate that didn't have a ton of experience, it was really difficult. At times it was just, I felt like I was just throwing out resume after resume and not getting called back. And then I heard of the position for the mentor program, and I'm lucky enough to be here. So long story short, that's kind of my background. And tonight, we're here to listen to 5 other stories from our wonderful panelists who are so kind to return back to Marylhurst and share their stories. Tonight is about job searching and the success and the journey that comes from it. And I have a couple questions to get the conversation going, but tonight I would really like for us to have a big group conversation. This is a pretty good-sized group, so I'm hoping we can accomplish that, to really just engage with one another and talk and share insights and experiences, because that's what tonight is about. So, to get things started, our panelists, if you could just go down the line and introduce yourselves with your name, what you studied at Marylhurst, and what you're doing now, to help the audience get to know you a little bit better, and then we can dive right into the questions.
Okay, sure. My name is Patrick Alexander, and I will be graduating at the end of this term with a degree in Business and Leadership, a certificate in HR, and a certificate in Management. What am I doing? I'm soon to graduate, so I'm soon to be getting out there and getting into the workforce. I am self-employed and have been since 2000. I do project management work and small business consulting. And that's the future for me. That's the direction that I'm going in, is to work with small business. I think small business is really an important aspect of the economy, and I find that working closely with a small company, I'm able to really bring a lot of my years of experience in business to them and talk about what they need to do, and I'm bringing in things that I've learned just fresh from being here at Marylhurst. So that's my story and why I'm here today.
Well, I'm Dave Bolesco, and I'm a manufacturer's representative in the electrical industry. And I graduated in 1993 in interdisciplinary studies. And my work and what I do is I Our company represents about 15 different manufacturers of electrical products from around the country, and we try to get those products into the hands of the electricians and big projects. And by doing that, you have to call on architects, electrical engineers, contractors, and finally the distributors that buy the products and resell them to the contractors that use them. So it's kind of a big circle in a way. It's my past experience before Marylhurst was I was involved in the electronics industry as a manufacturer's representative. I was involved in a family business, and I did that for about 17 years and decided that I wanted something more than what I was getting out of that situation. So I came back to Marylhurst and finished off my degree after 2 years, and got involved with my current position. So that's pretty much what I've been up to.
Hey everybody, my name is Chicky Flowers. Nothing special about how it's pronounced, no chickweed, no chique, no, it's simply chick and a key, put it together. In case somebody's gonna ask, I'm gonna put it out there. I'm a graduate of the Communications Department, 2009, with a BA, and I also have a certificate in Public Relations. Coming to America 2.5 years ago, I came over with my kids and my husband, and so my prior life, I was an event planner, sportscaster, I was a Jill of all trades. Come over here, adjusting to the cold of Oregon and the rain of Oregon. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I decided to, I needed to stop hibernating. So I went out and decided to get my degree here at Marylhurst. I did about 7 terms in a year. I decided I wanted to get done and get done fast. And thankfully, the communications department has an awesome advisor who will just work with you in anything and everything. So Mr. Sweeney, this is an advertisement for you. My first and current job has been with Medical Teams International. I started out as an intern back in May, and as an intern, all I did was just do a lot of research, do a lot of reading of their programs all over the world, which is a great way to know the organization. I got the job through a professor here in Marylhurst. It was Jan Tennell, and she had a class, and she had a guest speaker who worked for Medical Teams. So one of the papers I did for Medical Teams, she eventually sent it to the Vice President of Communications and Medical Teams. Hence the whole, here's your foot in the door. So I did my internship in May. In August, I got called back, and I redesigned the website for them. I didn't design, I wasn't that much of a genius. But I did help them coordinate all that fun stuff. Was part of the whole Haiti disaster relief team in terms of coordinating the media relations, the website, so on and so forth. And in March of this year, I'm officially a full-time with benefits and everything, Medical Teams as the marketing coordinator.
Hi, my name is Amy Henderson. I'm a graduate of Marylhurst for both my undergraduate degree in business and leadership. That's in 2006, I needed to remember that. And went straight on to get my master's degree in interdisciplinary studies with a concentration in gerontology. My story is it's unique. I knew what I wanted to do when I came to Marylhurst, and what Marylhurst allowed me to do was to focus, craft my classes and craft my my journey so that everything would then give me a solid foundation for when I took my dream of starting a nonprofit agency into the world. We know that that is a very difficult job. It's been a difficult journey, but my experience here at Marylhurst, it prepared me so well. Currently now, I'm a 501c3, founder of a nonprofit organization called the Geezer Gallery. And what the Geezer Gallery does is we have a gallery that showcases talented elder artists from our community as a way to partially support creating and implementing programs of art and opportunities for art therapy for senior communities that can't afford or sustain such programs. So it's a complex concept, and we are growing rapidly, and it's amazing to me the community support and partnerships that have evolved from my journey here at Marylhurst and into the world. It's absolutely phenomenal. So thank you. I mean, and I recognize so many faces that are a part of what we're doing now, and we're just rolling along. It's picking up momentum, and we're furiously busy. So I'd like to answer more questions later. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dana Smith, and I graduated from here at Marylhurst in '96. I'm a human studies major, human sciences now, and I started actually in communications, and probably about 3/4 of the way through, I switched to human sciences, and I was reflecting back before coming here about how things have evolved for me, and that I was working for a high-tech company in communications, and as I went through the courses here, I discovered maybe that wasn't quite where I wanted to land when I was finished. So I shifted, and it seems like I've just been shifting ever since, and what I've discovered is after I graduated, I moved out of state for a while, and I think that was one of my biggest challenges of not knowing anybody in the town that I moved to, and so I realized how valuable networking and connections were when I had not one, and developing a new network, and now I'm a career and leadership development coach. I'm an adjunct here and teach coaching and leadership development. But my road to getting to where I'm at, like many of you who are, not 20 and starting out, is how everything evolved. Nothing was wasted. My communication piece, human sciences piece, my work that I did in corporate and high technology. Then I was partner in a consulting business, and then now my own coaching practice. How it's all evolved. Nothing's ever wasted. It all unfolds, and I think that's the biggest thing to remember as people are stepping into college, and it's a huge step. It's a huge commitment, and then when you're at the end of it and getting ready to graduate, it feels like there's another. We're coming to the end, but really it's another huge step to the next piece. And there's always that next step to the next piece. So I know a lot of people are feeling like I just want to get it done, but I invite people just to have the mindset of this is just yet another piece to your adventure and the unfolding. And I'm also co-founded a nonprofit as well that in honor of my son, who had the idea, and anyway, I ended up picking up. He passed in an accident, and I ended up picking up that for him, and so it was lovely to meet Amy tonight and compare notes on starting up a nonprofit. So just another piece. So.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing your stories, and let's get to know you a little bit more. And now you get to be in the hot seat. So now I get to ask you a few questions to get our conversation going tonight. So if we could just do the same thing, I'll ask a question and then you can just go down the row. But before I get started, I know that some of the questions that I ask might not apply directly to you, so just feel free to just answer how you see fit. So the first question is, what was the biggest challenge during your transition from school to work? So again, what was the biggest challenge during your transition from school to work?
I'm in that challenge right now. And I would say that really what it is it's getting back into the saddle of networking and getting back out there and starting to talk to people that I worked with prior to coming to Marylhurst. My journey was one where I started part-time. I was working as a self-employed project manager. I realized after a period that if I was going to finish my degree, I needed to really devote towards it. And if you know anything about construction and trying to manage construction, you can't do that when you're in the library with your phone turned off, working on a paper. So I had to reach a point where I had to make this decision. And so I kind of had a graceful exit interview with all these people that I'd worked with and made it very clear as to what my journey was and where I was going. And now I'm in the process of reconnecting and making those connections. And the difficulty has been that there are some people that I worked with quite closely that now are not working any longer, and the new people that are in these positions I may not know. But I still have the history to be able to share with them, and I have a good story to tell as to where I've been and what I've been doing. So I think for myself, the big challenge right now is to get LinkedIn, get hooked up, and get people knowing about me and what my intentions are.
I think for me and the journey that I've been involved with was that leaving a family business after 17 years, and basically leaving a position that I really loved doing. It was just kind of hard, again, working with older brothers, and I was the youngest. I knew I had to move on, and I think to make the decision to come back to school to begin with, first of all, was a major one for me. But I fortunately had a neighbor that lived just across the street from us, and she was a Marylhurst student at the time, and she said, why don't you go out and talk to the folks out there at Marylhurst? And that led into taking the life planning studies here, which I found very revealing and eye-opening. And I think that really gave me the courage to leave my old situation, come back to school and finish off my degree. And I thought that 2 years was a long time to do that, but the way that the time went, it was quite short for me. And I think that after I got my degree, I was still interested in being a manufacturer's rep, but I think the opportunity of the Marylhurst gave me was to kind of explore other options and other industries that's maybe where I could use my past talents and the skills that I picked up here at school. And that led me to a conversation with an individual that got me involved in the electrical markets. And so basically I went from the electronic industry into the electrical industry. And I think one of the key things that people need to remember is that as you develop a network of new contacts, to keep in constant contact with those folks and go back to them and ask them more questions. And I just found that the number of contacts that I developed really multiplied quickly. And before I knew it, I was involved in the current position that I have. And it's really worked out well for me. I've been with the current company now for about 16 years. So.
I think for myself that I had two really big challenges in terms of transitioning from work and school. I graduated in August of 2009. I started work in August of 2009. So just the finishing up while working, while being the stay-at-home mom of a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old during summer takes a lot on your energy. So I was taking a lot of vitamins, trying to get as much sleep as I could without success. Luckily, I have a supportive husband. And just letting people in and allowing them to help me. Because I've always, women are usually, oh, I'll take care of everything. I'm the mom, I'm the wife, I'm the daughter, I can take care of everything. I thought I was Superwoman. Yeah, didn't work out quite so well. So just finding that limitation for myself was one big challenge for myself. Because I was so used to being able to take care of everything because I only had one task. During August of 2009, I had 3. So that was one of my biggest challenges. The other one, I didn't really realize until I took an intercultural class over here. And I found out that, personally me, as a Filipino Asian, we're very high context. Whereas coming over here, people are more low context in terms of what you say is what you get. Whereas, Asians, we're very, are you okay? It's everything, feelings, emotions, lots of extra stuff. So adjusting to an American culture, where all of my working life has been with an Asian culture, I was so sensitive. I was just like, okay, did I do that right? Did I say that right? Was my tone wrong? And they're all like telling me, gotta stop thinking about it too much. Just see, what you see is what you get, what you hear is what you get. So that whole adjusting to a different culture, coming from a different culture was one of my biggest challenges as well.
Let's see, many challenges. I can agree with you, Patrick. I mean, I've had the same experience when you have your head buried in the books for 6 years, and you're also in this beautiful environment, in this nurturing environment of Marylhurst, and then it's time to take what you've learned and take it out into the real world, is challenging, and it's a little bit scary. And so learning to network again, but looking at networking maybe a little bit differently in my experience, having the mindset that every opportunity and connection with another human being is an opportunity. If you listen, there's always connections. It's not like you have to go to a networking event necessarily to make connections and find a path, find an opportunity. They're everywhere. I've had some today. They're everywhere. And so if you're open to that and you're open to the universe conspiring for you, you really can find some really helpful, great people out there that are going to help you on your journey. Much like Chicky said, it's hard to get into that mindset too, that people want to help you. You know, in this culture, it seems like you have to do it all yourself, and not so much. There's so many people that really want to help you and that feel fulfilled by helping. And then reciprocity is generated, and then you will give back. That whole, it is a mindset, I think, but if you can get into that paradigm, it's wonderful, and you'll be surprised at what you find.
I totally agree with what you just said. I would say my biggest obstacle, as I mentioned earlier, was that I graduated and then I moved out of state, and so I knew no one, and the way I looked for a job is completely different than the way I would go about it now. But I was in a new town, I needed a job, and so I just, if it looked like it was something similar to what I'd been doing or could do, I applied for it. And I had an interesting opportunity. I went in for an interview, and this woman was interviewing me, and then just was asking me some questions, and found out I did some other, had some other experience. And then she goes, "Oh, you'd be perfect. You need to talk to my friend so-and-so. He owns this company, and you need to go work for him." And so she, called him, and I went and worked for this other company for a while. And then while I was there, I met one of their clients, and anyway, and then I got another job through just completely networking, and I think the other piece to that, so it's really, the key to it is absolutely networking. And to continue, you all in here can network with each other. You'd be amazed at the contacts that we have for each other. And also, when you go into networking, it helps to go in with, how can I help you, versus how can this person help me, is how may I help you? Is there somebody I might know that could help you? And when you go in with more of an open heart like that, and looking for ways to help others, it is more fulfilling. And it's amazing what can open up. So networking, I've gotten one job in my whole career that wasn't through networking. And I've had many jobs, and they've all been word of mouth, really, for the most part. So, and same with clients now too. So, big part.
Okay, the next question is, how do you feel your education has helped you in the work that you're doing now? So again, how do you feel your education has helped you in the work that you are doing now?
I would say the first thing is that I've learned how to really be an attentive listener. We were talking about networking, and I'm very similar. All of my jobs have come through networking. But it really, now I see that if I'm in a networking situation and I'm really focused on listening to what it is that what I can do for them, but listening to what their needs are, it's really been very helpful for me to then make a good, strong, solid contact with them. I also have learned to really identify and know what my top values are, what my strengths are, really be able to speak from that, speak to people about my strengths and my values, and in that conversation really kind of tap in with what other people's shared strengths and values are. And that really just has kind of been this fuel then to feed the conversation, and you start to really see these commonalities, you see where you can benefit one another. And I've so far found, and I presently have a client that I'm working with who really would like for me to come and work for them full time because we really share these same values. And so I really have learned from Marylhurst, first and foremost, really to listen to people and really focus on listening.
I would have to agree with that also. I remember one of the classes that I took out here was effective listening. And I think if you're in sales and marketing work, that's very important to listen to what your potential customer has to say, really. And also I think another thing that I was able to get from my course of studies was organizational communications and better understanding corporate cultures too, and how to work with those different situations, how major corporations operate, and try to be able to complement that and being able to be there to help service their needs as well. So,
If you ever get a chance to see my job description, you'll scratch your head because it's definitely not your typical marketing coordinator position. It feels like it's catered to what I brought to the table. I've been waiting for a full-time job since May of 2009 when I started as an intern. And being in the nonprofit world, your salary is nonprofit money. So if there's no donor money, there are no jobs. So I was just a temp for the longest time. Kirsten can attest to that. She stopped asking me, how's it going, because it was becoming depressing. I used my degree in so many different ways. So I'll relay that to my job description. I took this class with Kathy Hubble as social media. I'm now in charge of our MTI Facebook page and Twitter. I took an e-marketing class with Marco Fasaro. I'm now in charge of designing our e-blasts and using the web to market organization. I have become the swing vote between our team because we have a media person, we have our web person. I learned how to code HTML through Marco Fasaro's class. I know how to do press releases because of whichever teachers we have a lot at Certificate of Public Relations. So just using every single thing that you learn and just using that. Oh, my favorite class, negotiation for women. I cannot negotiate for anything. I managed to negotiate for this job. Don't know how I did it, don't ask me why, but it helped give me the strength to say, hey, look at what I can do, look at the things that I've accomplished for you, go hire me. Just all those little things that you learn from class. You never really think, oh, I'm not going to be able to use that. Facebook, Twitter, who wants to tweet? But apparently everybody else in the world tweets, and everybody else listens to the tweets, listens to you tweeting. Oh, I hate that term, I'm sorry. But it's just the little things that you learn in school. You never really think, oh, I'm never going to use it. My job description is a perfect example of the little things I've taken here and there and just kind of built upon it and just used it. And yeah, for some reason I'm the marketing coordinator. So I would advise, just never take anything for granted. And every little skill that you learn is always a good tool to have.
You guys said it all so well. It's true. My education was paramount. It was, not only did it help me grow and learn from a business point of view to do what I'm doing now, but from a personal growth and human development. My classes here helped me grow as a human and find my values and find my moral compass, if you will, and find my passion and then gear those things towards what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And so I am eternally grateful for those experiences because, like I said, they don't just help you in your job, they help you as a human. And those classes help you relate to other people in your relationships, in your interpersonal relationships, and then taking it to your business relationships and beyond. So my education here was just fantastic.
Yeah, and I would have to really say the academics was maybe a third of what I got. It maybe gave me the confidence to be, that I was a better communicator, better writer, all of that. But really, it completely transformed my perspective about everything. It opened up. It's like I had this narrow view of life and business, professionally in the corporate world, and about myself. And after Marylhurst, or during Marylhurst, it completely opened up and just opened up everything for me. So it was a huge beginning, huge opening.
And before I ask the next question, I just want to add on that. For those in the position where you are taking a class and you're wondering, how am I going to use this? Is this practical? Am I getting my money's worth? I think sometimes it takes time to look back from what you're doing now to, I did learn these skills in that class and I am applying it. So, if for right now you're just getting through that paper, or it's just a difficult time, I really do believe that sometimes it just takes a little bit of time to reflect back, to see what you really have learned and how you can apply it, whether it's personally or professionally in work. So the third question is, what was the biggest obstacle you had to overcome in securing work? And I'm pretty sure you guys have one, so I don't know if I need to repeat it. But what was the biggest obstacle you had to overcome in securing work?
The biggest obstacle, I would have to say my self-confidence. Getting out there, really proving that I have something to offer, that my intention is really here to help. I'm not just looking for another job. I've had those. I've had jobs that just paid. I really want something meaningful and purposeful, and I really felt that it took me a while, and Marylhurst was a big part of this for me, to get the confidence to get out there and share my story and really do what I'm doing right now. So the obstacle for me is the confidence, and knowing that I have something to offer, and we all have something to offer, and we're all worthy of being recognized. So that has definitely been my biggest obstacle.
I think for me it was probably being able to communicate to people that I could transfer my skills from one industry to another, and that past successes that I had, and that sometimes when you're in the job search mode, you forget about those things, which you shouldn't, and you should be able to build upon those. And I think that probably just getting out there and putting yourself into situations in which you can network with folks rather than staying at home. Sometimes in the mornings feels more comfortable just to pull the covers up over your head and just let the day kind of pass, and before you know it, the days go into weeks. But I think that by getting out there and talking to people, and especially in fields that you're interested in or industries that you're interested in, I think that's a very important thing to do. And like I say, when you're going from one industry to another, sometimes that can be very difficult to do.
My biggest obstacle in securing a job was this economy. I'm sure everybody can relate to this economy. Going for an internship, you're going after it with people who have had 2 to 3 years work experience and they just got laid off, and they're going for the internship. Going for a regular position, you're fighting with people who have had 10 years experience or 15 years experience. It was just, I did not have as much experience in the field that I wanted to go into. So it was just, I got lucky. I really, really did. And I have had the weirdest job search process I've spent so much money. Luckily, it's tax deductible on the job search process. Just lots of paper, lots of trips to the Office Depot, lots of printing. It was just tough. Every job is 100 applicants, some of which have had master's degrees. I have a BA. I have a certificate, 10 years experience over me. So it was the biggest. There was just it's tough, but hopefully it's getting better. They say that unemployment rate's going down, but it's still tough. So that's my biggest obstacle.
Very tough. Yeah, self-confidence, I agree very much so. Still learning, I'm still on that journey. Very, very important, and talking to people. It's very hard, especially when you're in a place that you feel vulnerable. You know, not having a job, or in my case, looking for granting, looking for money. It's really challenging. You feel like maybe sometimes you don't have something to give back. What can I give back? You know, I can't give someone a job, but I'm asking for help. That it's a very precarious situation. So yes, it is tough in this economy. One thing that I could share a story, it doesn't have to do with me, but maybe you could provide, I don't know, another way to look at things is there are a lot of volunteers who help with the Geyser Gallery and have come aboard lately, and a lot of these people are, as you said, very accomplished people with masters, bachelor, whatever, looking and accomplished people that have lost their jobs due to the job market and have been looking for a long time. Either a year, one woman in particular, 2 years, and is having a really tough time. But what she found is she needs to feed her soul. So how do I survive financially? I mean, she's got rent, she's got a car payment. How do I make money and still feed my soul? And sometimes we won't find that in one place, in your job. So for instance, she came to volunteer for the Geyser Gallery because she loves the mission and the vision of what we do. Art and elders feed her soul. We can't pay her and she's not making money. However, she will donate 8 hours a week to us. Meanwhile, she had to go out and get something that wasn't her passion, something that just paid the bills. But she was getting fulfillment in this area, and out of that has come a job. Out of working in our area and connecting and what she has to do for us has now put her in touch with other opportunities, and it happens to be the area you're passionate. So it could be that if you're passionate out there about something, or you find a nonprofit or a charity that you can put a little bit of your time into, a little bit, you're doing good for your community, but you just might find paying work out there. So just another way to maybe survive these difficult times.
If you don't mind, can I just jump in real quick on the whole volunteering? Okay, speaking of the volunteering, I can't tell you how many people in the staff of medical teams internationally came from volunteering. Our district distribution center manager, she used to pack boxes, and now she's the manager. Our logistics coordinator in Haiti, he is an EMT graduate from OHACU, and he just joined one of our teams, and he proved himself so invaluable. They said, you know what, we're hiring you, we need you. Volunteers often come on, and again, nonprofits sometimes don't realize how much we really need you until you're gone. Hence, we're going to hire you. So volunteering, aside from the fact that it opens doors, it also adds on to your resume. And it's always a good reference letter. Always, if you do well, it's always a good reference letter. You can write it down. What did you do? What's in between 2 jobs? What did you do? Oh, I volunteered and I did this. It's a good resume filler. So I would highly recommend volunteering. Sorry.
No, that's okay, because I'd like to add to that too. So another piece to that, if you want to volunteer, maybe there's an aspect that you don't have any experience on that you would like to. You're bumping up against it when you're going out there. It's like I don't have this finance piece, and for what I'm going to, they really want. Getting into a nonprofit, either as a volunteer or getting on a board, is a great way to get that experience to add to your resume. So really, it is. I completely agree with both Amy and Cheeky on that. It's a wonderful opportunity. And going back to the question, I think the biggest obstacle for me and what I see in most everyone is it's my own beliefs about getting a job, or in the past. I mean, it has come pretty easy to me, but those were kind of like jobs. If I really looked at like what would make my heart sing and fill my heart, I would say that what was my biggest obstacle was my own belief in that being possible, or that if I do that, I'm going to be poor, and those kinds of things. So you know, I think those are the biggest obstacles. You know, it's that old saying, you know, you're your own worst enemy kind of thing. Get out of your own way. So think about maybe your beliefs. What do you believe right now about yourself, about work? I'm hearing a lot on this table that it's hard because of the economy. So if that is definitely an experience, but maybe there might be another way to look at that. Maybe what would be another perspective that might serve me better, and maybe take that approach.
So there's been a lot of talk about networking, about volunteering. Kirsten likes to call it strategic volunteering, where it's volunteering, you know, with the purpose not only for you but for the organization as well. So it's a win-win situation. And so this question might already be answered, but are there specific job search techniques that worked best for you? And Lynn has mentioned at previous workshops that, you know, with the state of the economy, the rule book's gone. We just got to start a whole new rule book, and I think a new rule to add to that rule book are online resources like LinkedIn or Monster.com or other resources. And they may not be for everyone, but I think it's important for people to keep in mind that these are successful for a reason, and a lot of people are using them. So that wasn't really a question, but you know, if you have a specific job search technique other than what was mentioned earlier, like networking or volunteering, what are they, and you know, how did you use them?
I don't really have anything other. Relationships has always been what works for me. Building relationships, maintaining relationships, honoring them, making sure that people know who I am and what I have to offer. I just signed up for LinkedIn in the last month, you know, so I'm kind of entering into that direction because that's needs to be done. That's how people communicate in so many ways. But I'm still very much a face-to-face person and like to honor the relationships that I've had with people that I've worked with, and it's always been successful for me.
I think for me is to also developing those relationships that you have and finding certain niches within like a given area, not only in terms of a professional, but also from probably a personal standpoint too. And I've been very fortunate because many of those professional relationships have developed into real friendships, personal friendships, because of the sharing of interests, your own personal interests, and with other people. And I think it goes back to, you know, being there, being out among people, and being aware of what's going on around you with people that might have problems as far as even struggling with their current situations too. Being able to lend an ear when they really want somebody to talk to.
I think my job search was the biggest move that I made was I never slacked off. I never knew who I was going to meet. Hence, I never wore holy jeans or, you know, aside from when I'm home, but, you know, just you never know who you're going to meet. It could be a prospective employer. It could be your prospective, somebody's going to refer you to your future employer. So I never knew who I was going to meet. So I always tried to get as complete a package as possible. Especially in the public relations field, it's all about the image. In terms of my schoolwork, I always made sure to go the extra mile, as one of my professors called it, because I never knew where my paper was going. I never knew what my product, it's a product, your paper is your product. I once made a social media press release. Next thing I knew, my teacher was asking me, hey, can I send this to so-and-so agency? Sure, why not? But I didn't know that was where it was going. I got my foot through inside medical teams' doors because I made a marketing plan, strategic marketing plan, and I guess I packaged it so well that it got through the door. The other successful thing that I would highly recommend is one of the background checks that's now being done is online. We are kind of lazy that way. The whole world's just, oh, I'm going to hire somebody. Let me do a Google. Let me do a people.com. And as much as it's both good and bad, just I would recommend having maybe a LinkedIn, a Facebook. You don't have to put your whole life on the web, but just have something. Because if you're not there, then it's like, oh, this person is not searchable. How do I find more about this person? But then you also have to watch what you say in these things. You can't say, oh, I ate a garlic burger today and I need to brush my teeth. You just never know who's going to read your profile. So those are my two things. Just never know where your product, whether it's a school paper, where it's a volunteer, your volunteer service, you never know what your product, including yourself, who's going to look at it, who's going to see it, where is it going to go. And so I guess it also ties into your whole Facebook or LinkedIn. You never know what you're going to say. You never know what your profile is going to, who it's going to reach, where it's going to go. So hopefully, yeah, those are my successful strategies.
Oh my God, do I have to not stop wearing my sweats to the grocery store now?
Not necessarily.
Oh.
Depends on which field you're in, I guess.
My situation is probably a little bit different in not having the job search. That part's not really applicable, but having to search for partnerships and relationships. It's all about the relationships and creating those relationships and nurturing those. I think one thing I found when, doing some networking, and I kind of don't like that term because it feels like it's, one of those rooms where you try to pass out your card as many times as you can and you make these very weak ties with people. And I find that not to be very effective, at least in my experience. But if you're in a situation, perhaps you choose one or two people in that time frame or that opportunity, and you really get to connect and get to know people. That's probably the biggest. It's been very successful for me, and it's not quantity, it's quality. That's key, and I also think patience. That is a huge learning curve for me also. It takes time and not to give up. What is that, Winston Churchill? Never, never give up. I have it on my fridge. And seriously, that it's really hard not to give up, but just to keep plugging along. Something will happen.
And I think just to add to what Chiki was saying about, dress, it's like you are your brand. So pay attention to what, how you are presenting yourself, and if you have any resistance to social networking, I did for a while. It's just another thing to do and keep track of. But I've let that go, and I'm finding a lot of benefit in it, and I really invite you to, because it is, if people are looking for you, they do wonder why, they're not up to speed, they're not in the game, so to speak, or whatever. So it is important. And the other piece to that too is we didn't talk about, you probably all know, but I just would like to mention is, informational interviewing. Just start, hey, this sounds kind of interesting. Find out who's there and get informational interviews set up. People love to give you their time, and they love to help you out. And when you have those interviews, who else might I talk to? Who else could you recommend? Who else should I know? That's a great way to start networking. If you don't have a network, that's a great way to begin. I think of Lynn as being a great networker. She's got a phenomenal, to use an old term, Rolodex. And you really want to be that person. It's nice to know those people, but you really want to be that person and have your own great networks, the people that want to know that you know a lot of people. So really start thinking in those terms about really owning that for yourself.
And to add on to what Dana was saying about informational interviewing is if you get the right person who loves to talk about themselves, they will give you everything that you want to know. So sometimes some people really enjoy helping and sharing their experiences and can provide you information that isn't necessarily on Google or that is in career resources, like what's the culture of where they work, kind of what are the taboos that people don't normally talk about. So that's another way not only get great information, but information that can be really difficult to find. So the last question before we open it up to everyone is, what is one piece of advice you could offer new graduates and alumni who are currently looking for work? You can give more than one, but the question says, what's one piece of advice that you could offer new graduates and alumni who are currently looking for work?
My advice would have to be, find out your top 5 values and know those down. Know what they are and live by them. If you value 5 things that really are what resonate deeply within you, and you really identify that for yourself, and you really remember that, that will come through when you're talking to people. That makes you authentic. It makes you unique. It's what people then really resonate with, and in turn, it really helps you identify what's going to work and what's not going to work for you. And when you go in for interviews or you're talking with people about specific types of jobs, you will sometimes really recognize where the values may not be aligned, and things that don't quite seem to fit with what really resonate with you. And I think in hindsight, for myself, I've looked at positions and jobs that I've been in where just the fit didn't seem right, and now I look back and I can see very many reasons why, and it mostly is because of a misalignment with what my values are. I thought I knew what my values were. I felt very confident about who I thought I was when I came to Marylhurst, but definitely coming out of Marylhurst, I have a very clear understanding of what my top 5 are. And I really pared it down to just those 5 because it can be overwhelming to really think about too many things. And so if you really look at just the ones that are the most profound to you, it has proven to me to be very beneficial. That'd be the one thing.
I think that's important, at least for my situation. I've been with my current company now for 16 years, and we've had very little turnover there, and I think the reason for that is, again, everybody shares pretty much the same work values, and we all persevere, and sometimes that's hard to do, especially if a company gives you a large quota to meet, and you're kind of wondering, how am I going to pull this off? And but you just have to keep working at it. And I think also just developing your contacts, even through your daily course of living, really. And it's not only again the professional contacts, but also the friendships that you have as well.
There are different aspects to the job search that I have learned so much from. On the practical side of job searching, it doesn't hurt to always submit a complete packet. Like your cover letter, references available upon request, or samples available upon request, just send it all. Show the initiative of giving a complete presentation, so much so that they'll be impressed. Oh, I don't have to go call this person. Can I have your sample? Can I have your references? It's all there. You thought it through. They're going to be impressed with that. Most of the employers that I've had the opportunity of job interviews, they said, we were really impressed that you supplied everything. I don't have to take too much of my time to give you a call. Okay, can you send me? And have to wait for it in the mail, or have to wait for it for you to give it to me. Just give it to me already. The second best advice I can give you is it doesn't hurt to ask. That's the worst they can say, no. Okay, move on to the next. It doesn't hurt to ask, can I have an informational interview? It doesn't hurt to ask, can I have this job? It doesn't hurt to ask, can I volunteer? Can I take some time? It doesn't hurt to ask. I know, I kind of ended that really abruptly. Sorry.
I think the best advice is to find your passion. Yeah. It's huge. Find your passion. And I remember my very first term here, a long time ago, Lynn gave us some very good advice in career development. And it was because a lot of us don't know our passion. It was first find it. You might not get that job, that's your passion, but if you start to look for jobs or opportunities that can give you background to get to your passion, that's the one to choose. So always do things, even in your personal life, that are going to prepare you for your passion. And you have to get a little creative to find those connections, but they're there. So that would be my best advice, I think.
I would agree with that. Know thyself. Know what you want. So when you know, what makes your heart sing? Where's your energy? Follow the energy when you're out there looking. What do you feel passionate about? What do you have energy around? If you don't have energy around it, let it go. Don't listen here, listen here. This knows. Always trust this. This comes second, you know. So I mean, that's what I've learned. I think that it's just so important to know what you want, because when you're talking to others about it, your passion comes through. When you're interviewing for a job, it all comes through. It comes through. So just really pay attention to where your energy is.
Okay, well, hopefully those questions provided some food for thought. There was a lot of content there and a lot of things that we can dive deeper into. And so now it's, you know, a little more informal. We can just kind of talk. And so if you have any questions, whether it's for one particular panelist or for the whole group, please feel free to just ask away. And I think we're okay without mics if people project. So if you can kind of speak a little bit louder than normal, then we can just kind of talk.
Learning about my values and really getting those down helped me see connections that aligned with my passion. And in one way, it was, you know, my background had been in horticulture for many years, and that's really my passion personally and professionally for a long time was in horticulture. And one of my values is beauty. And I really then started to think about what other types of jobs that align with that passion of horticulture and plants, but also tied in with this value of beauty that I really honor so much. And then it started seeing other industries and other opportunities. And that's what then led me into working in small business and working with people in the landscape industry and being able to really help them. And now my passion for plants comes through, this passion for beauty and this value of beauty of what they're doing comes through. And it really started to educate me. And then I was able to make better choices and decisions because I felt that I learned more and had more to kind of make that decision, a place to make it from, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you. That's very helpful.
Another piece to that is like, it takes just as much energy to go after something that's your passion versus not, right? I mean, actually more. You have to put more energy into something that you really don't feel like doing than versus something that you're passionate about, too. So if you're looking for work anyway, why not go for what, you know, really makes your heart sing?
If I can add another piece to that too, and it's all good to find a place that has your value system in place and finding a place, a culture of trust that we all learn about. However, that doesn't always happen in the real world, unfortunately. So another way to maybe honor your values and who you are as a human and find your passion. I can give you a story. My husband, for instance, works in a company, a very large company, and has been there for 32 years. And I can tell you it is the typical corporate structure. It's not so much we value our employees, you know, it's about the bottom line, and it's kind of that environment, which a lot of businesses are still in that paradigm. So what do you do? I mean, if you have to get a job and you get a job in a culture like this, it's what you have to do to survive. So then how do you function in that? And what my husband found, and of course it's after coming here and knowing his values and what he embodied those values, and he embodied his passion, and he is a role model for that. So he's in charge of his own self and how he interacts in that culture. And from that, he's able to deal with something that maybe isn't the best or the idealistic situation until he can either move or stay. But he's much more profoundly happy and satisfied because he can think in a different way and model a different way, and he will affect his circle of influence. It's very interesting how that just starts to change. So just another way, it's a hope. Really.
I think also that you all have to kind of evaluate the atmosphere of the situation that you're looking at. And I remember I had a sales manager that came into our office, and he had visited us. That was probably his third or fourth visit. And as I was taking him out to the airport, he made the comment. He says, "You know," he says, "you have the most peaceful place to work there." He says, "There's no tension really between people. People are willing to help one another and work with one another." So I think that that's another key that you have to evaluate in the atmosphere that you're, for a potential job situation too. There you can find how values work, really.
I like what Patrick said. You prioritize your values to maybe the top 5. Because if you put all your values into one basket, all your eggs in one basket, I don't think you can ever find that one job that has all those values in place. You will be so unhappy. I started my job search and I wanted this, I wanted this. I had my list. And my husband was like, "You're gonna be so unhappy, you're not gonna last very long." So I didn't think of it that way, that I prioritized my values. Pretty much I prioritized what I wanted. Initially I didn't want to work for medical teams because I didn't want to work for a nonprofit that is based on donor dollars. That meant no job security. That meant all positions are at-will positions. It's not like working for the state where, getting rid of you is harder than it is for a nonprofit. I didn't want to have to ask for people for money. Hence, I knew I wasn't going to be a salesperson. But then I value my children. I love my kids. I value, bringing them up in the way that I would love for them to be as adults. Example for Haiti, I was working 12 hours a day. My daughter, I'd come home, she's in 1st grade. She's like, "Mom, what are you doing here? Go home, go help save Haiti. You guys are going to work. Don't come home, don't go to sleep, don't eat, go to work." I mean, just the fact that she would tell everybody, "Yes, my mom works for a medical team, she's helping Haiti." She was just so proud. And just seeing that 7-year-old, I didn't want to work for not medical teams. I didn't want to work for a nonprofit where there was no job stability. And here my daughter's telling me, "Mom, your job's cool, go." So those things, just trying to find, prioritizing those values, as Patrick was saying, will keep your sanity and probably make you happier too. Yeah.
Taking all the courses that you mentioned from the various instructors and I mentioned before, taking the same
resume
courses.
class,
Yeah. Did you find, for example, with Marco's course with the HTML, using that as an example, did you get enough of that you felt to be able to just really branch on your own and be able to do it?
It's a good start. Sorry.
Yeah, because it seems like it's a start on all of these different items.
From that class, I bought an HTML for Dummies book because it's a good start-off point. It just gives you, lots of the classes here are just pretty much a touch here, a touch there, a touch here and everywhere. It doesn't really focus on what you probably will eventually do, but it's a good introductory course. I really think that most of these classes are really good, get your feet wet type of courses, and they'll pretty much, okay, I really like this one. I think this could be something I could put in my bag of tricks. Whereas I didn't know HTML was one of my bag of tricks until I took Marco's class and I was like, I kind of like it. It looks like it kind of likes me too. So I bought a book of HTML for Dummies. And from then, it just kind of branched out. And you just learn a lot by practicing. There's a lot of things that I didn't know about HTML, and then now I pretty much know the codes by head, which kind of turned me into kind of a computer geek, but hey, that works for me.
I think we had a hand here and a hand there. Whoever wants to go first.
I noticed none of you mentioned anything about money or salary. What, if any, consideration or impact did that have on your research or process?
I can answer that one. Yeah, that's a huge concern. Wow, especially starting a nonprofit or starting a for-profit, anything that's entrepreneurial, going into that knowing that it was probably going to be a long haul before I would make a salary, and it's still at that point, never giving up. I happen to have a very supportive husband too. One nice thing about being involved in nonprofits is that you can defer your student loans. And after, I think the current administration helped with this, but you can, after 10 years working for a nonprofit, you don't have to pay the rest of your student loans off, which is brilliant. But as far as salary goes, yeah, it's a very big concern. It's a huge concern.
Yeah.
In my particular, or our particular organization, it has to be a part of our project money and when we go and seek money for donors, but also realizing, as Chicky said, that being donor and grant dependent is not sustainable, and that having a revenue generating arm that will pay myself and a staff, staff has to get paid to have good staff, they gotta make money. It's always on the top, on your priority list, so always striving for that in my particular case. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's a very big concern. Like I said, and sometimes you have to compromise and get that part-time something, or to bring some money in while you pursue your dream. Like the two can coexist.
For myself, yes, it was. I mentioned it's working for a nonprofit is definitely a lot different than working for a state. For the state, luckily my husband works for the state, so he has a job security. My main requirement for the salary was that it would pay for childcare. I didn't want to, maybe a little bit more so that I can have some savings. I didn't want to just work just to pay for childcare, because that would also mean time away from my kids. Luckily, my kids are the social type of kids. They were the ones like, Mom, I don't want you around. I want to go play with kids my age. You know, they were getting tired of me. I wasn't getting tired of them. It was the opposite. It was quite the opposite. My kids' personalities, I just wanted a job, a salary that would pay the daycare, pay for whatever we needed, and a little bit of savings. Benefits luckily weren't that much, because Oregon State has good benefits, so that wasn't a requirement for our family. But I was looking for flex time, so I could adjust my schedule to be with my family when I could. And just pretty much a good benefits plan. Even though I mentioned it wasn't really necessary, but it's good to have. I wanted a job, an employer that would provide the support that I needed in terms of those things.
I'd like to add to that too. There's a couple of things. It's like, I know when you don't have a degree and you're applying, you're going to be immediately cut because you don't have a degree. So they won't even look at, unless you know somebody in there and you're doing it that way, you already have it in. But if you're just randomly submitting, that's one cut right there. That's just how they do, because they get so many applications. So that's a huge thing. I know for me, when I went, I got a new job after I kind of transitioned jobs while I was in school, but I was working most of the time I was in school. It definitely helped. Absolutely, it helped. It helped me always be at the top of the range that I was looking in. Absolutely. Huge difference. So when you're making a cut that you might not have made before unless you're referred in, but then it absolutely helped, and I'm sure my confidence level, all of that was all a part of it. So it makes a big impact.
In terms of the salary, somebody mentioned earlier informational interviews. Depending on who you can get that information to. Especially in the same industry, you can do your research about salary ranges, the competitive market. So coming into that, okay, maybe this is knowing the organization. Okay, they give you a salary range. They will definitely not give you the high mark. You can maybe go in the middle and do a little bit of wiggle room. You can find all of that, if not informational interviews or sometimes research.
Also, my wife is currently looking for a job too, and she got a booklet from the state of Oregon, and it gives the top 50 career fields for the state of Oregon, and in there they have a salary breakdowns in there as well, so that might be a good source of information as well.
the other part of this too is there's a lot more out there that is not here in Oregon. There's a lot of people that work for companies that are in, you know, Seattle, San Francisco, New York, you know, and have satellite offices here. So don't limit yourself to just Oregon. I mean, you know, you can work here, but it doesn't mean your company has to be here. So that, you know, if you're working for a company in San Francisco, that's going to be a different salary range too.
So we have time for about 2 more questions, and I know you had a question, and if someone else has a question, or we can wait, but about 2 more, and then we'll wrap things up.
Wasn't so much a question as an observation. I've used a little bit of what each of you said in my own search, and I go to a lot of networking groups, and what I find is that, and what I hear is that people seem to want to do exactly the same thing that they've always done. And for me, I wanted to do something completely different. I wasn't looking for a job. I mean, there's a lot of jobs out there. I was looking for an experience. And I went to a career fair last year, and they had all the usual suspects at the career fair, Fred Meyer and all these other places that had jobs, and I wasn't looking for that. And at a table that looked just like this was this nondescript flyer for Clackamas County that said Victim Services Intern. And the title just seemed to speak to me, okay? So I went for that, and I worked with victims of domestic violence, which is something I've never ever done. And my background is advertising and marketing, okay? And I was volunteering there since July, and they applied for a grant, which they got. And they said, we want you to go for this. And I said, I don't know anything about this. And so I applied, and they had 2 applications, me and the other person who I'm co-facilitating with. And it's been unbelievable. I mean, it fulfills, like you were talking about values, because I took Lynn's class last year, and my values are freedom, creativity, flexibility, humor, all this stuff that I can incorporate into this position. And it's mind-blowing for me. I mean, I didn't want to do what I was always doing, so my advice is to really don't think outside the box, think outside the city. I mean, just think outside, you know, anything you've ever thought about doing, because you can do it. It's about applying your skills in new ways. So.
Well, thank you for sharing, because that speaks to you. You saw it and something sparked.
Right.
And that's the passion. That's where the energy was, and that is a perfect example of that. And one of the things I wanted to add to this too is make it an adventure, make it fun. Usually people are, I'm going to go look for a job, and you know, make it fun, have it be an adventure. I mean, that is just a perfect example of how everything just unfolded and fell into place. You followed that, you know, that inspiration that you.
Well, I was looking for something different, and you have to be open to something different if you're going to find something different.
Absolutely.
And that's what I found.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Be prepared to take a risk.
Mm-hmm. It's all about that, trusting yourself. Yeah.
Well, I just am so impressed with this panel, and I learned so much, and I keep thinking, gosh, I want everybody to hear this, I want everybody to hear this. You all have just given us so much of your lived, wise insight and applying your, you know, everything that you've learned. I'm impressed. Thank you very much.
Well, with that, I have to also say, I think that many people in the room have been influenced by our celebrity faculty here, Eileen Mejia, because effective listening is one of the first courses that really get people open to this idea that everyone spoke to. And I've even told people that have taken my class, oh, I can tell if they've already taken Eileen's, because it's a totally different group. So thank you for all of the transformational communication that you've shared over the years. It's been amazing. But I'm also just, I cannot believe all the things I learned today from this group of panel, and I'm so full of gratitude for your sharing. And one of the exciting things for me is that Pete's recorded this. And so, 60% of our students are not able to come to campus. And so now we have a way to share this experience with those students. And I think this is what we all need, is this really is going on. This is real. And this is sharing from the heart. And I know it will make a difference to those people who think we're actually in Florida. I guess there's a lot of our online students that aren't sure where this campus really is. I also want to express great gratitude for Olivia and all of the wonderful moderation that she's done and the inspiration I get every day from the work that she does, because the mentoring program is a great example of this connection. And I think everyone in some way spoke to this relationship building. And I also want to acknowledge Kirsten, who knows all of this and keeps coordinating and pulling together all the panelists and was, the steady conduit to this workshop coming together. Thank you so much. And I also want to just, behind the scenes, Dave Belisco has been supporting the job support group, which we've been running for over a year. And we've served over 700 people, and about 30% of those people are now working. But I want to tell you that Dave came early on to share his contacts and his knowledge with others, volunteered at the end of his busy day, and not only that, he fed us. He and his wife, Colette, have been treating us to cookies, water in the summer, and treats for over a year. And we all appreciate it. Especially on those stormy days, it was just great to have a snack and to share community. And thank you so much. And also take care of your career staff too. Very much appreciate it. So what I'd like to do is end today with a couple of things. One is our job support group is going to continue on in the summer, Mondays 4 to 6. And the other thing is that we're going to have a really fun workshop. It's going to be a professional development seminar in June, and it's June 26th, which is a Saturday morning. And we're going to do a really fun thing. We partnered with the Business Journal. They're one of our new professional partners, and the whole idea is to do an interactive workshop on how to get a job with the Business Journal. And I believe that Robin went to the workshop and inspired me to actually make the contact with Business Journal. And it's going to be fun, and we're also going to do some speed networking at the end. So you're welcome to, it's free, open to the public. Please come. It'll be a great way to have some fun this summer, after we get through graduation. So thank you all for coming. I'd like to give you a chance to meet our panelists individually if there's any particular questions you have, and meet each other too. So thank you so much.
Thank you.